trouble with the law a lot do not usually have a safety net. We spend a lot of money keeping them in jail. They may have been through lots of different kinds of, may or may not have been through different kinds of treatment or professional involvement in some way. But most of those people, and Tom has talked about this, are having a lot of trouble, and they don't have a strong social support network. So it's a hole. And so I began to think of this as kind of holes in the fabric of our community. And when we continually put people in jail, we are isolating them more and more and more from the community of healthy people who are getting along fine, who support each other, who are each other's safety net to their family and their friends. And then we have these people over here who are just cycling through jail. And everyone in their world is also either cycling through jail or, connected to it in some way. So I thought, boy, what Joe has done here is he has stepped across that gap and made friends with someone who people who are never in trouble don't usually make friends with. And he described in detail how really fulfilling it was for him to get to know this guy and to make a commitment to him. I mean, they really made friends. He loves him. They love each other. They are real friends. And I never get through this without choking up. You can just count on it. But so that really impressed me. I thought I want to be part of repairing the fabric of our community. It feels really worthy to me, and it feels like a needed change. That of course the community as a whole is not going to function in a really healthy way if we have these big holes in the fabric of our community. If we let people go without a safety net, there's going to be trouble, and everyone is going to feel that trouble. Not just the people who are in trouble. The people who aren't in trouble feel that trouble also. Those are the people whose houses get broken into. Those are the people, So I started to think it's really important that we sort of shift our thinking about who we are, what does it mean to be a community member, and who we are as community members. And taking a second look at, it's one thing to say each person is responsible for what they do, and that is true, and that is important. And without that, everything's going to fall apart. But there's also something about being there for each other, and there's also something about if you see somebody who's struggling, being willing to reach out to them. Even if that struggle looks like stealing or getting drunk all the time or whatever, So I was really inspired by his talk, and I decided to apply to be a volunteer. And I was accepted, and actually it was a group of 5 of us from our fellowship here who decided to do it together. There were already 2 groups running, each with 5 people, and then last fall 3 new circles formed, including my circle. And we were assigned a core member, someone who was just coming out of jail. And well, let me tell you a little bit about the. It's just. I'll tell you a little bit about the nuts and bolts of how the program works. Circles consist of about 5 community members, and So these are people who just have an interest in being of help. We are a neighbor-to-neighbor support group, if you think about it that way. We are not trying to be experts at anything. We are not trying to be skilled mentors. Although we all go through an orientation, our intention is to fill that need just in friendship and the everyday support of people who care about each other. So there's an application. If you're interested, you would fill out this application, and then if you're accepted, then we have an orientation that's 3 evenings of orientation where we have a series of people come and talk about things like understanding the criminal justice system a little bit more, understanding the specific needs and challenges for people who are coming right out of jail, because let me tell you, it is not easy. And maybe Justin will talk a little bit more about that, but when you first get out of jail, you have to have your ducks in a row, and you have a million things that you have to arrange, and if something like your ride to work falls through, the whole thing can collapse in a week. Everything just falls apart. It's incredibly frustrating. It's unbelievably stressful, and I don't know if I could do it. I mean, now that I know, really close to hand what is required, it's so stressful. I can't believe it. So anyway, so we go through the orientation. We got matched up with a Corps member who was just getting out of jail, and then we meet for an hour once a week, and the commitment is 6 months. So the circle agrees to meet and to walk together to support the Corps members' transition to a safe, healthy, legal lifestyle. And that support can look like, it really depends on the person and then what happens as you go along. But that support can be just friendship and camaraderie, where you're doing, you're having good, clean fun together. You might be meeting at a coffee house. My circle meets here in our kitchen. One of the things that our Corps member asked for was to explore healthy recreational activities and hobbies. So we went for a series of weeks and did all sorts of things. We went to the library and read and checked out books. We cooked a meal together. We went bowling. We went for a hike. There will be one time we had sat and had tea and snacks and made a budget. We brainstorm around challenges that come up. We listen. We just listen and talk as friends about how he's feeling and how life is going, and there are moments where it is incredibly personal and tender, and some of the most precious moments that have happened to me in my life have happened in that circle. I really can't put into words how meaningful it has been for me to be a member of the circle, and I now consider it, this is something that I will continue to do, to be involved in being a friend in this way, to repair that fabric and to dissolve the boundaries that we've put up. I can wholeheartedly recommend it as a circle volunteer, and that's really why I applied for the position when the coordinator position came open. I want to say that originally Vince Hatt, the director of Franciscan Spirituality Center, at a time when every business in town was tightening its belt and not spending money, Vince Hatt donated Joe's time for 2 years to help get this program off the ground, and we are forever in his debt. That was really an amazing gift. It would not have happened without him. So Joe's time came to an end last summer, and I was on the planning committee also, and we had spent about a year talking about a permanent home for the program. And the original thought was that Amos was about getting things off the ground and starting initiatives, and then we would find a permanent home. And we entertained possibilities with some of the social service agencies in town. But in the end, we decided that really the safest place for the program was with Amos, because we wanted to make sure and protect the neighbor-to-neighbor, unskilled, just the friendship element of this program. And we were concerned that if it went home to one of the social service agencies, that it would eventually turn into another program where people go through or processed through a canned training program, and it's, that would be the end of really the spirit of what we have in mind here. We want it to be a community, everyday person program. So in the end, we ended up going back to Amos, where it started, and said, hey, would you consider being the permanent home, even though you hadn't originally thought that you would do that? And they talked it over, and they agreed. So we're very grateful to Amos for that, and I thank you, Curtis, also for being willing to support the program. Let's see, where are we? Why don't we take a few questions about the details of the program, and then we have Justin McCulloch is one of our core members, and he's also going to speak, but we can take some questions first. Go ahead.
I was wondering how many core members have gone through the program, and what percentage of them were men?
Yeah, where they are now.
Well, what percentage are men?
Oh, what percentage are men? We've had 7 altogether, and I believe there's just been 1 woman. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So we're very open to women, and we want women too, but it's just sort of happened that way because what we've been doing so far in terms of finding core members is talking to people who are involved with men and women who are about to get out of jail, and asking key players in the criminal justice system who know these people well to say, who do you think would be good for the program? So we're looking at that. It's an important question because it gets at who is a core member and how do you qualify to be a core member. So just as the civil volunteers are volunteers, core members also volunteer. They're not sort of assigned out of jail. So what's happened up until now is that Tom, it's been mostly Tom, I think. You want to?
I have been involved in all the selections, but there are some other people in jail. Joe used to teach a class up in jail, so when Joe was going into the jail, he and I would talk. I always talk with the mental health providers in the jail, to see if people that we're thinking about are reasonable candidates. We have a program director in the jail that has MSW and he's been doing this for a while now, and he also has a pretty good feel for relative chance of success or failure. And so those are the people that have kind of been brought in, and excepting for Joe, who is no longer going